Alright guys, I had a pretty good night tonight, and I don't get to say that too often. And tonight was good for a lot of reasons, but one of which was finally, the Alien 3 figures from Neca were available in my town because I've been going everywhere, and I'm really excited to have this. It's sometimes it's a little too hard to like wait to do these things, to like show you, like to do the videos. Like I just want to open them like immediately, like just on the way home. But I try and do my best to hold off. That doesn't always work. But yeah, so I finally got this. This was really cool for me because the first I think the first Xenomorph figure that I ever had was that praying mantis Xeno. But I think someone just gave that to me. Like I didn't go to the store and look at that thing and thought it was cool and bought it or whatever. Like I got that somehow, like a cousin gave it to me or whatever. But the first Xeno that I went to the store and like bought in the package and all that was the Dog Alien. So also Aliens 3, that was the first Aliens movie I ever saw in theaters, because I wasn't goddamn alive for the other two. So that was my first Aliens theater experience, and that was really, really cool. I went to go see that with my dad. My parents are divorced, so like every other weekend more or less I'd see my dad, and he'd always take us to some action movie or something like that. So Predator 2, stuff like that. And so he took me to go see Alien. He also took me to go see Alien Resurrection, but I didn't have nearly the amount of fond memories for that I do for Aliens 3. And I know a lot of people don't like Aliens 3, and I guess I'm one of the weirdos that actually thinks Aliens 3 is good. I know people hate that they kill Hicks or whatever. I guess I never really had that big a problem with that. I like the whole movie overall. I don't know, I really like it. And there's that assembly cut, which I guess might make things more tolerable for people, makes it better. I liked it already without it, but I definitely do like that version. Anyways, on the back you can see the other figures, and it's that are in this little wave, shaved head Sigourney Weaver. I think that's really cool. I was really waiting for that too. And then Weyland-Yutani soldier. I might be in the minority here, but I don't think that soldier looks cool, like, at all. And this was how I already decided it beforehand, but then when I was in the shop and I was just looking at it, and I was just like, I don't have any attachment to this soldier. Was he in the movie for like 2 minutes at the end or something? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's different for other people. But even like design-wise, I don't think they look cool like enough to, like some toys that I think just look so damn cool, like some World of Warcraft toys. I'm like, I don't play World of Warcraft, but that's a kick-ass looking monster, and I want to buy it anyway. I don't got that feeling with the soldier. On Twitter, they're all like, yeah, everyone should buy 4 or 5. Like, you gotta be out of your goddamn mind, Neca. You're gonna have to try really hard just to convince me that I need 1. So I feel like maybe they just did that because if to do another character, they'd have to license another actor's, likeness, and I guess they just weren't willing to do that, or maybe they couldn't, something like that. And so you just got like, well, here's the guy with a mask, so we don't have to license anything. I kind of sort of feel like that's what that is. So I'm not gonna bullshit and say that you got to get the soldier, whatever. So I'm probably never gonna get that one, but I'm not much of a completionist. Anyways, but there's a little bio of sorts on the back, so let's go ahead and read it. I'll read these things. After narrowly escaping LV-426, Ripley and the remaining crew of the USS Sulaco enter hypersleep for the long journey back to Earth. But a crash landing leaves Ripley alone and stranded on the maximum security penal planet Fiorina, Fury 161. She's surrounded by inmates whose double Y chromosome makes them the most violent men in the galaxy, but there's something far more dangerous lurking in the shadows. Something that may have been in her escape pod all along. And then that thing went on to rape a dog, and then here we are. Okay, so here he is. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Here's the Dog Alien. Beautiful. So there's a lot of really cool stuff about this Xeno, but let's go ahead and get the specific stuff out of the way first. I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about the accessories, because he doesn't come with any except for this, which, even though that just happened, you might think, oh, it's a good thing you got this. This thing is so useless, man. You put it together like that, I feel like this thing is not really tall enough to hold a Xenomorph. I'm not sure from where it's supposed to hold him. At the waist? Maybe, kind of. But I don't... Maybe it's supposed to hold onto his leg? Maybe the tail? Is that what I'm supposed to be doing? There you go, I guess. If this was the pose you were going for, stand is perfect for that. Other than that, I find these stands to be pretty useless. I just use them for like random other like Marvel Legends or whatever that don't really stand up. And then for those, it's kind of okay. But for Xenomorphs, I feel like it's really short. Maybe if there was like another, you know, pole here, or if it extended, or was even somewhere close to being tall enough. Because Xeno figures are pretty tall. If I stand them up, he's out of frame. So Xeno figures are pretty damn big. So this stand, whatever, that's what he comes with, although he may as well not come with it because I'm never going to use it for him. Okay, for articulation, our Xeno can look left and he can look right. These little shoulder things don't get in the way too much. He can pretty much raise his head over it. At least a little bit. Enough. Unlike other Xenos that have that weird little wire that goes from the jaw to the throat, the Dog Alien doesn't have that, so you actually can get him to turn his head. I feel like his head's kind of loose on mine. I don't know, your mileage may vary. One thing that is nice is the head is on a hinge. Again, very loose ass hinge, but now this means he can't really look up very much. That's too bad. But he can look down like a lot. And that's kind of cool if you're like me and you like to put your Xenos in this kind of like fetal position. Alternatively, I guess he looks like he's gonna cross his arms, like, yeah, he's ready to put out like some really badass Xeno hip hop album. So being able to look all the way down like that, I think is pretty cool. I really wish he could look up more so you can get more of that like crawling, you know, pose, or he can look forward, you know, like a dog. But unfortunately, he can't. But I do really like that he can go ahead and do that. Anyway, so for the arm, he's got a ball joint at the shoulder, and it has pretty good range of movement. And then he has a double jointed elbow, which also has a swivel. And then he has a wrist hinge that also swivels. Now, for the torso, he doesn't have like a waist rotation. He's just got this diaphragm joint that kind of sort of lets him get a little bit of an ab crunch, but it also lets him twist really well. So he's got that in place of the waist rotation. Now, a lot of Xenos, you can pull out their extra little mouth. Usually I feel like these are kind of hard to get out, but I feel like he's constantly coughing his out. Like again, like everything on mine seems kind of loose. So that comes out, and then the jaw opens and closes. Although when I pull it all the way down, you can see this extra, whatever this is. Was that always in the Dog Alien? This extra, it looks like it has like a tongue and then his inner mouth. Whatever this little thing is. So I don't know, to me it looked kind of weird, so I just kind of keep his mouth shut. But that's a good feature as well, because I mean, of course you want the Xenomorph to pull out his other tongue, for sure. Then for his leg, he has a ball joint, and this is really, really cool, because he brings his leg way up. Now, with other Xenos, you can kind of sort of start to get it to go up, but the more you do, the legs start coming outwards, you know, like they start spreading apart like that. Somebody's finding this erotic, I know. So, but he can bring that up, and again, I like to have these kind of really crouchy, buggy poses for my Xeno, so that is awesome. I kind of wish maybe there was some rotation at the thigh, but I guess maybe that would mess with the sculpt. Either way. Well, then he has a double jointed knee, although it bends like really far already. There is a double joint there. No rotation, which would be really nice, at least at the knee. Anyways, and then he's got this, so I guess it's an ankle, I don't know, or is this his ankle? I don't know, Xeno anatomy. But he's got a hinge right there, and it's got a really nice range of motion. If anything, I kind of wish this is what was double jointed, so I can bring it further up. But it does have rotation, and then he's got this hinge here at his foot, and it also rotates. No toe hinge, but I guess that would get in the way of little Xeno dog paw, and he's got a little peg hole there, even though the stand he comes with does not have peg holes, but whatever. And on the off chance you wanted to go get a stand that was actually worth a damn, then you got that. And his last bit of articulation is in the ass, as is every man's. So the tail is great in that you can twist it around, you can rotate it. That's pretty cool. And then it bends. When you're buying these, you might want to look out for the tail, because sometimes the little notebook wire, whatever the hell it is that's in these, sometimes it ends up jutting out, and that can kind of suck. So I think it's like a pretty rare problem, but I've seen it. And so you just want to go ahead and check the tails for that. But you can get some really nice bends. And it's very stiff. It doesn't feel loose or cheap or anything like that. So that's pretty cool. I really do like that it rotates around. Okay, now what I really like about this figure, other than the fact that for me it's kind of like I said in the intro, like the Dog Alien was the first Alien figure that I went and bought, and like I have it here. Now maybe I'm wrong, and you could be like, dude, that's not the Dog Alien. It's like, oh, is it not? It's been a really long time. I could have sworn that's who this little guy was. Let me move. This was the old Kenner toy, but I could have sworn that that's what this was. It's from Aliens 3, because he doesn't have any of those back snorkels, as the Dog Alien doesn't have that stuff. I always call them snorkels. If someone else knows the proper term for what those things are, please tell me, because I'd really like to know. I've been curious about that my whole life. So this was my first Xenomorph toy, and I've had it forever, and I would hope to have it my whole life. I always really, really liked it. So to be able to get like a more modern version, to me, that's really cool. I like when NECA does stuff like that, like when they made the Renegade Predator. I probably made a bigger deal out of that than most people, because the Renegade Predator was my favorite one. So I'm really, really happy that they made this, and ever since they announced it, I've just been, oh man, like anticipating it, and waiting, so I'm really happy about that. I also really like the paint. It's got this really kind of gross brown wash to it, and while I don't know if this would bother anyone or not, but I heard some people like talking on Twitter like, oh, some of them kind of have like a silvery paint to them, and like, I remember them asking like, did you guys release like 2? Is there like a variant, like a silver one? And I'm pretty sure NECA said like, well, no. So I guess maybe it's just I don't know if I call it a defect, but whatever. Maybe some might be a little silvery or something like that. And out of the 8 Xenos, was like the first one there. So out of the 8 Xenos that I looked at least 2 of those, they did have like a lot more silver kind of wash going on, and I personally did not want that. I wanted it to just look gross and brown, so I passed that up. But yeah, I don't know if that's something you're looking for. Well, then it's out there. But if it's something you want to avoid, then make sure to look out for it. But in either case, I think that the paint that they did looks really good. I really like that whole kind of brown industrial look that Alien 3 has. It's one of my favorite things about that film. That and the music I like a lot too. So I really like that. I really like the articulation that they gave the Xeno. It's pretty much standard Xeno articulation, but again, the figure being able to look down so far, I really like that, and I really like that he can finally like kind of turn his head, and I really like the tail. I really like the way that the bending came out and just the rotating. I like that about it. I like all of the articulation at the legs to get these crouchy poses. I like that sort of thing. That's how I like to display my Xenos personally. So that is all very cool. The way the head came out, because it's always kind of transparent, the dome. But sometimes I feel like it's a little too clear, and this is a kind of a nice kind of dark black. At least much more black than I think some of the other Xenos. Because like when you look at them just like from the front, right? It's like black, like a motorcycle helmet or something, And so I like that too. Okay, now for what I think is the bad. Now this could just be my figure, but I feel like everything on this figure is like really loose. From the head is really loose. I mean, just everything just feels like kind of a funny pose. Everything just does not feel like very stiff, and because the Xenomorph is so tall and so heavy, he tends to buckle under his own weight. So even when I try and get him into these kinds of, maybe like crawling around, like dog poses, his weight just makes his hinges bend. Like the elbows are just very loose. So he can't really support himself ever, and he just keeps falling over like he's drunk or he's like depressed. His girlfriend broke up with him because he's like this all the damn time. And that really kind of bugs me. It's not like a deal breaker or anything. None of these things are deal breakers. I love this figure. It's just I really don't like how kind of loose all those joints are, especially with the elbows and the head. Another thing for me is that when I open this all the way, I swear this thing in his mouth just looks really weird to me. This extra, I mean, I feel like that's just there. It's just there to be, just so that you get the bottom. It's just there to facilitate the bottom of his neck. But then when you open the jaw, the bottom of his neck comes through his goddamn mouth. And so now it's like he's got a tongue that his other little mini mouth rests on. And so this is just kind of freaking weird. So I tend to not open his mouth that much. Can have a hard time closing it. Also, the other little mouth is like really loose, and it always wants to fall out. So I have to keep his mouth shut. Unless that's a feature, but it's like, well, no, I mean, he's a dog, so like his tongue's just gonna hang out when it's hot. Okay then. Another thing that kind of bothers me is that the tail is bent here, and well, maybe that's not a huge deal. It's not a huge deal, but I would really like it if it was straight. More like a spear, and the bendy part of the tail stops like here. So this isn't like I can bend it into place. It's just always going to be all curled up like that. Now I guess I could go ahead and take like a heat gun to it for like, I don't know, half a second before I don't melt it into the soup. Or I guess a hairdryer could work, or here hot water works too, and then you put it in cold water and then try and straighten it out. I've used that trick before, but after a while the plastic ends up going back. This is something you would do with like Some characters' guns are like Wolverine claws and stuff like that. And I just feel like after a while it always ends up curving back, so I tend to not even bother. But I kind of don't like that. I wish I was paying more attention to see if maybe there was a Xeno that didn't have his tail all smushed like that. Other than that, I think that it is a really great figure. I waited a long time for it. I think he looks really cool. Maybe if I would have got a different one, maybe a different one wouldn't be so loose. Because that's really my only problem, is him not being able to stand up. Now, of course, he comes with this fucking thing that I guess would help facilitate him standing up, but I'm telling you, these things are useless. Now, well, Neca does make some pretty cool stands. They're like these separate, like, dynamic stands that you buy separately from their website, and those are great. And it's not like I expect them to package those in with the Xenos. I just expect them to package in a stand that is tall enough for these figures, which are pretty damn tall themselves. I really feel like they just expect you to get your Xenomorph, and then it's just like, yeah, you just, I don't know, put this thing somewhere up his crotch, and then that's supposed to hold him. And I just feel like that's pretty lame. Either that, or I don't know, you're supposed to put it at their neck. But well, I guess that does help facilitate these kind of crawling poses that I was looking for without him buckling his elbows under his own weight. That just looks jacked up, dude. To have this weird thing throttling him. So I guess the strangled look is all I could go for. So I hate these stands. That's always going to be like a minus 10 points for these stands until we get good Xenomorph stands. I've never heard anyone say, oh, these are great, these are perfect. I've only ever heard of people being disappointed with these things. Like, what do you do with them? I just use them for other smaller figures. So that kind of sucks too. Other than that, I don't have any problems.